You are listening to the Lawyer Stories podcast with host Benny Gold. Lawyer Stories was founded in July 2017 on Instagram and is an expanding global network of lawyers and law students sharing their personal journeys to the noble profession of the practice of law. Join us on this podcast as we dig deeper into these stories and hear from lawyers and law students from around the world in all areas of the legal profession. Here at Lawyer Stories, we believe that every lawyer has a story. What's yours?
Welcome to the Lawyer Stories podcast with Benny Gold. Today, we're fortunate enough to be live before our Boston Connect event here at Caveau, our second year in a row here. I'm super excited. I don't do live podcasts that often, but we're starting to do them more and more before events. And today we have the pleasure of sitting with Dale Tamburro, principal at the law office of Dale J. Tamburro, and his associate, Lindsay Chen, both Boston suburb-based estate planning and elder lawyers. How are you both doing?
Very well, thanks.
It's awesome. Great to have you here.
Thanks
for joining us live and making it happen tonight. We're very excited for what's to be a great night. So, Dale, let's start with you. For those who may not know, tell us a little bit about your background and how you came to focus on estate planning and elder law.
Well, it was a long road, actually. I didn't actually practice law until I was 28, 29.
Wow.
I was a chemist, went to chemical engineering school, and ran into someone who convinced me I should go to law school. So I went to law school, thought I was going to go into corporate law, decided not to do that, and got involved in real estate law, and then very quickly estate planning, and discovered it was something that I loved.
So how does somebody just convince you to go to law school? That's like a big undertaking. Like, what was that moment like when they're like, hey, you should go to law school? And you're like, okay.
Well, you hate to admit it, but usually it's some movie you saw that, I think it was Injustice for All was the name of the movie with Al Pacino. And I saw that when I was a kid, and I said, you know, I think it'd be cool to be a lawyer. But then I discovered that my reading and writing skills were below average, and my science and math skills were much better. So that's why I went into chemistry.
Yeah, that's some pretty hard stuff. It's funny because you hear people don't go into that, so they don't go into anything like math-based, so they go and become a lawyer. So it's interesting to hear from the side of somebody who does science. So excited to hear more about that. So Lindsay, your path to the law, modern story from DevOps at MIT's Media Lab to estate planning. That's like a big jump there. Tell us a little bit about that transition.
Yeah, so very similar. You know, I started off thinking I just wanted to do computer engineering, and I liked it for the most part and landed a terrific job. Like, the Media Lab is the greatest place you can be. But it was really during COVID that I started to reflect on, you know, is this what I want to be doing for the next 40 years? Yeah. And it really wasn't, unfortunately. You know, the job perks and the people I worked with were terrific, but the actual job itself felt quite dry and just not something that was really moving the needle for me. So during COVID, I had a lot of time to reflect because I was in the lab alone.
Right.
And it was quite isolating. And I said, you know, why not give law school a shot? And I had a neighbor growing up who was a patent attorney, so I always knew engineering than law school, so that was an option.
That's interesting. Yeah, that's totally interesting. I know we talked before the show about being isolated in a lab, and that's great. When you're alone with your thoughts, you start thinking, all right, maybe this isn't the thing. Maybe I want to talk to people. Maybe I want to be with them face to face, and what can I do to really make an impact, right?
Right, exactly. Yeah.
So that's awesome. That's a great story. And I know there's a lot more to it, but that's a good summary. So Dale was a chemist before becoming a lawyer, and you and Lindsay both started in technical fields, which is super interesting. Engineering, computers, systems, things that I'm not very familiar with. I mean, I knew once how to sign on to AOL Instant Messenger, but that's about it. So how did it feel to move from like an analytical, behind the scenes work to a people-focused profession? Like, how do you reconcile those two things?
Well, I was similar to Lindsay, that I was stuck in a lab and I wasn't happy. I think what we have in common a little bit is we like to be in a people business a little bit.
Yeah.
But what surprised us was that all this analytical skills that we had actually worked great in estate planning. That surprised us. We both knew we wanted to be doing something for people and doing something different than just sitting in a lab. But we didn't realize just how much all that math and science helped us in estate planning.
That's amazing. So What's like the biggest help that it's been so far? Like just briefly, like what's been the biggest help?
Problem
Math
solving.
and science,
Problem solving.
The way you solve the problem, the way you look at it.
How quickly I can solve the problem. How quickly I can evaluate it and see 5 different sides to an issue faster than most people. Because as a scientist, as a math person, that's what it's about.
Yeah.
It's looking at what's set and what's a variable and trying to put it together. So I can sit in a meeting with a client and my brain's going, it's going like this in 7 different directions. When I tell people you could do this and here's the pros and cons, and or you could do this and here's the pros and cons, I can do that quickly and in a way that's actually understandable within the English language rather than the legal language.
Amazing.
And that's what we bring to the table that I think is distinctive.
I love that. And Lindsay, it's a huge shift for you too, from coding and servers to sitting across from clients and families every day. Like, what was that, like a natural thing, or was it sort of a culture shock? Like once you started practicing?
I think similar to what Dale was saying, that it definitely was natural. I'm a huge people person. So I was probably the most life that, my group had seen, in terms of I was the one who was constantly talking, bothering them. I just wanted the social aspect.
Oh, like in the
lab.
Science.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it was like very much that I felt like an outsider in a way, because I liked being an extrovert, talking and, having people to talk to. So that's what I think when I was alone at the lab, I really realized I missed, is I wanted that human interaction. I wanted to feel like I'm making a difference with people's lives and everything. And, it's funny because Dale, of course, when I was in law school, he was saying things like, oh, you don't want to do patent law. Like, it's just as dry and just as isolating as what you're doing now. And I said, you don't know what you're talking about.
How did you guys meet, by the way?
Yeah. So, his daughter and I were roommates. So I started law school actually when we were rooming together, and, we'd go over to, his house and stuff, and he would, ask me what I was thinking of doing. And he was right. He said, patent law was going to not be what I thought it was. But of course I have to go down that path because it's kind of like a second father. You don't know what you're talking about.
So Dale solved that problem too. Like you didn't go to patent law. That's amazing.
Lindsay's as close to family as someone can be to me. That's not my blood.
That's nice. And that, and working together, that's great. You have a established practice, and you trust Lindsay obviously with your clients.
I do. But when you have someone that you're close to, you take a risk. My son worked for me for a while, and that didn't work out. So when you have someone you care about, and now you're working together, it's a different relationship. But Lindsay and I really sort of are on the same wavelength a lot. And it clicked right away. It was a good partnership of sorts that we're going to help hopefully grow.
Was there training and like mentoring, do you think, along the way, like when you first got to that?
She soaked up everything, and I never shut up, so she got it all.
That's
it's great. Easy. I just watch and I mimic. And so,
I got to just say, I'll take a moment and just say, I kind of wish I had that legal mentor to teach me a trade, like to just take with me for the rest of my life, and being like a estate planner, and that's incredible. So I sit here today, and
I wish I had
one
great.
Too. Yeah, I think it's such a big thing. So that's a great thing that you've done. So let's talk about your clients, Dale. Who do you primarily work with? Who comes to you at your firm?
Seniors.
Okay.
A part of what I do is I do seminars at senior centers. So I don't have to pay for them. I advertise for it. That's about it. And I can get anywhere from 5 to 25, 30 people at a seminar. And, the elders are scared of this stuff. So when you go and give them free time and give them more free time, and you do it the right way, where you're not sounding like you're selling something. And I think I do it in a way that works well. You get business.
How do you do that? How do you build that trust?
You use personal skills. Lawyers, a lot of them have poor personal skills. They may be great lawyers, but they're like doctors who have no bedside manner.
Right.
I try to educate before I get business. The education part comes first. And I think people realize that. I give them everything and anything I can give. They can ask me any question, and I'll try to answer. And if I don't have the answer, I won't try to pretend I know it. I'll tell them I don't know. I give them written material that's in English, not legalese. And I get praise for thank you for the written material. It really helped solidify what you were talking about.
And, I think, and your answer shows me one of the most important things that I think is just such a paramount item that a lot of lawyers I hear miss, which is communication. So like, how important is communication with your clients?
Incredibly important. And I think a lot of people fail to do it. I think that even sometimes when something goes wrong on a case for us, it's probably because of the communication. More often than not, there's a misunderstanding. And when you're doing this kind of law, which is very hard for people to understand, it can happen. So you really have to focus on, do you understand? Do you have any questions? And you spend a fair amount of time that you don't bill for just to get the people comfortable, knowledgeable. And you hope when they walk out of the office and they get it done, they're saying, thank you, I'm so glad I got that done.
Yeah.
If they say that, that means they sort of got it.
Right.
They didn't get all of it, but
Right.
they got a lot of it, and that's what we try to do.
Right. Understood. So, Lindsay, from your experience working with all kinds of families, what's one misconception, that people have about estate planning?
Yeah, so I think that the two big ones come to mind for me. The first one is that estate planning is only for when you're older and when you're thinking about passing away, when really estate planning is for helping you if you're incapacitated or if something happens, out of, just the random occurrences of life and life happening. And I think that's also made me more cautious and, cognizant of informing my friends about it. Sure. Hey, do you have a healthcare proxy? Do you have a HIPAA? And for a lot of my friends, they're getting married and they're having children. So it's, do you have a will with a guardianship in place?
Right. And I guess I want to just ask a quick follow-up. Like, do you have to have like millions and millions of dollars or
no, that's the second
hundreds
part.
of $1,000s to get I think that's a misconception.
That's the other misconception that I always talk about, and especially in our practice, because there's some basic estate planning documents that virtually everybody should have.
Right.
And I don't care what their wealth is, and I don't care whether they own a home or not. So there's a baseline that everybody could use. And yeah, a lot of people think, well, I don't have a lot, so why would I need that? Well, if you become disabled, who's going to make decisions for you?
Right.
Well, I didn't think about that. It has nothing to do with money, some of it. Some of it has nothing to do with money. When you have money or you have wealth, then it changes what the plan is. It adds to the plan, but the baseline is still the same.
So why shouldn't somebody go to like Staples and pick up like one of those forms that you hear about, and we're like wherever you can get them that just and
the same reason why I don't do brain surgery and I don't change my oil.
Good.
The one time I changed my oil in my car was my one lesson to learn that I'm never going to change the oil in my car again.
Good.
Some people who can change my oil and not even think about it. But it's a good question, Ben, because a lot of lawyers think they can do estate planning that shouldn't be doing it. And artificial intelligence thinks they can do estate planning. Google thinks they can do estate planning, and Staples think they can do estate planning. It's one of the biggest mistakes people make, and it's penny wise and dime foolish.
And I agree. I was just throwing that up as sort of tell us the reason. So you talk about estate planning maintenance. So why don't you tell us a little bit about that? Like, what do you mean by estate planning maintenance?
You can do that.
Yeah, so we like to think of our firm as not a transactional firm. And really, estate planning shouldn't be transactional. It shouldn't be, okay, we have the estate documents in place, we're never going to see you again.
Right.
It's very much that maintenance is involved, meaning that if a life event happens to you, so again, thinking for younger people in terms of marriage, new children, I call them additions, whether it's adopted, whether you have a child, whether you inherit family members you want to include in your will by, the person you marry. If there's a death, if you buy property, all of these life events are really reasons to update your estate documents. Right. And again, we want to be informed. So we have a CRM that, pings you every 3 to 7 years, in terms of when you last saw us. And it's just a good way of checking in, keeping that relationship going, because it's going to be an ongoing
And tell everybody what a CRM is.
Yeah, I don't even know what his
client relation. Okay.
I'm
sorry.
Retention. It's retention.
Yeah. So you're going through the documents, and I think that's important for like yearly to look at different things in your house, like insurances and estate planning. Did anything change? Right. Did anybody?
So the way I look at it is when she says not transactional, the flip side is relationship. And so if you have a relationship with someone, like an accountant will meet with you once or twice a year, your financial planner will meet with you once or twice a year. And estate planning, people don't think of that. And it doesn't have to be done every year unless something happens. Like I call it, it could be death, birth, divorce, increase in wealth, decrease in wealth, change in the law, change in your health. But if none of those things are happening, I still recommend that my older clients come see me every 3 years. And by doing that, I could have a client for 15 years. And now I have a relationship with them. And that's so much more valuable because estate planning really does require a comfort level with the people, meaning for them to have a comfort level with us.
Sure.
Because deep down, some of them are simply saying, Dale, I don't know what you're talking about, but I trust you.
Right.
And building that trust works better when you meet with them more than just once and get it done.
And also, if they ask, you will explain it to them. You want your clients to understand what you're doing. So why is estate planning a win-win scenario?
It's a win-win because it's a win-win-win.
Win-win-win.
One,
win.
I make a living, and I'm happy about that. Two,
Great.
I love what I do. Three, I help people, and every time I'm doing an estate plan for someone, I'm trying to make sure it's a good bang for your buck. So if people are doing this, it's costing them that, and if they don't do it, it would cost them 10 times that, either in money or peace of mind or family harmony. A lot of different things can happen. So that's the win-win. It's very easy for me to, quote unquote, sell myself because I'm not selling.
Right. You could tell, yeah. I mean, I understand that completely. And Lindsay, you said estate planning feels like Sudoku?
Yeah.
Sudoku?
Yeah, I'm obsessed with Sudoku.
Probably a game I don't understand or have never tried to play. But go ahead, tell
Yeah.
us about why.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Yeah, just because I often find that a lot of the families that we work with have similar goals. So it's, to escape probate, it's to leave a legacy behind for your children, it's to avoid estate taxes, something along those lines. So you know the end goal, but the pieces are put in different spots, or for Sudoku sense, it's the numbers are put in different boxes. So you have, the family assets. Where are the family assets being held? Are they in IRAs? Do they really have any financial liquid assets, or is it all just bound up in the house? So you see the financial assets, you see the family dynamics, who's actually included, and all of those different pieces you need to match up to end with the end goal, but you know what the end goal is. So it just feels like kind of moving those pieces around, knowing what you know about the law, knowing how the documents work to actually accomplish it.
Wow. Okay. Very good. And so you've seen clients come to you that have maybe come from another law firm, and they're like, what do these documents even say? Like, what is that experience like for you guys?
Well, when I do my seminars, I tell people, I'll give you a free consultation. And they'll say, well, I already have my estate plan. I said, well, I'll be happy to review it. When did you do it? Oh, 1998. So, you know that if they did it in 1998, it needs to be replaced, but you don't say that yet. Or they did it more recently. But like I told you, there's attorneys, we see many trusts and plans that just are poorly done. If a will is poorly done, it can become a huge family problem. So I readily volunteer to give an hour of my time. And I tell the people at the seminar, I'm a nice guy, but I'm also a businessman. I know that if I review what you already have, there's a fair percentage chance that you're going to need to change something, because I know that a lot of attorneys don't do it as well as I do it.
Okay. So, and you've talked about family harmony. Like, why is that such an important approach?
Because estate planning really isn't just estate planning. Estate planning is drafting documents. Elder law is a form of family law, all right, without the divorce.
Okay.
Right? So if you ever hear the saying, I'd rather burn the house to the ground than have my kids fight, well, that's one that my father used to always use.
Yeah.
And that's the truth of it. A lot of what people are looking for is to get organized about their affairs later in life and make it easy on their kids. And a lot of times you might have a problem where they're putting one kid in charge and someone's going to be mad about it. So I need to ask the next question to say, well, what's so-and-so going to do if they know the other one's in charge? And we figure out ways to minimize any kind of disputes. Now, we've seen everything where families actually don't get along. But certainly in the families that get along, we don't want to create a problem that they don't after they lose their loved ones.
Right. Makes sense. Lindsay, have you seen that in practice, like where a clear plan helps keep the families united?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, it's just, getting people on the same page. I think that there's, a nice concept of, oh, my children will work it out when I pass and everything.
Yep.
And then it's what I really like is when the family comes in all together. So you get our clients and then you get their children to sit in also, because then they're informed of the game plan.
Right.
And everybody does better when they know what the end goal is, and when they hear it from, the horse's mouth per se, it really makes an impact that's different than them learning about it later, or having some spite later. It gets everybody in the loop. So I think that, for the most part, the thing that gives us almost the most, gratification is, like when clients leave our house or leave our office happy, and they say, okay, that makes so much sense. Okay, I was worried because, mom paid off all of his tuition, didn't give me a dime or anything. I feel like, this is a good plan forward. Mom, you feel comfortable with it? Yep. Okay, great. Like that's really nice to see, is that they feel a sense of relief when they're leaving our office.
I think that it also ties into our backgrounds again, because a lot of the problems that are caused within families is how the language of documents are written. If they're unclear or it hasn't taken into account, what if this happens? And we go way down the line to the point where people get tired of us. What if this happens? What if we're thinking of all those different branches that I'm talking about? And if you can anticipate something, even if it's unlikely to happen, and you have it right there, what's going to happen, then there's no misunderstanding. And I'm working on one right now where it's clear that the family, they talk about the intent of the deceased person, but they all are talking about that the intent was completely different. So as a lawyer, all you can do is fall back on the documents. A probate judge is not going to listen to what your mother's intent was if she can't testify. But if the document says something, that's it. And this means the document has to go the whole 9 yards of what happens if this happens, what happens if that happens.
Yeah, no, that's it's a lot of planning. That's a lot of foresight into what's going on. So Dale, you've been practicing for over 30 years. So what are a couple lessons that you've learned through your time?
That's a tough one, really. I've learned a lot of things, and what it is in estate planning, what I knew 25 years ago wasn't enough. It's something that she will learn even faster because she's going to experience it. You experience so many different things within families. People say, well, I want to tell you about my family. I said, don't worry, I've heard everything. And that's what you get. But what you try to do is you have to respect the people. They've gotten to their age 75 on their own, right? And they don't want some guy just starting to tell them how to breathe. So I tell my clients, look, if you have a choice, I'll listen to it. If you're doing something really stupid, I'll tell you it's stupid. But if it's somewhere in between, I'll just help you understand the pros and cons. And I had to learn that when some people would want to do something that I didn't think was the best idea, but it wasn't the worst idea, that I had to respect them for that. Gotcha.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And Lindsay, what is something you've learned from Dale, like a couple things throughout the years? And it's, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I know there's probably so much you could go through.
Yeah, no, I mean, the opportunity to shadow is, amazing and hard to find at law firms. So it's great. But I think that one of the biggest things I've learned from him is how valuable time is in terms of time with your clients. A billable hour is something that seems to be sought after in every law firm, but it's not really something that we think about when we're on the clock with a client for a consultation. Right. So giving that hour, and it never is an hour, it's always an hour and a half or longer, is so valuable because you get a full picture of this person. You can hear a little bit of their grievances, you can relate to them, have some time to actually feel human without being like, well, you're on the clock, you have 10 minutes to tell me about your life story in a second. And I think you mentioned it earlier, people really gain a sense of trust when they feel like they've been able to talk to you in that way. So I think that just understanding that, talk to them like they're human, talk to them, with time not being a problem. That's really been something.
Kindness.
Yeah.
So what do you both actually love most about what you do?
I just think that what I do makes people's lives better, makes the family have a better chance of solving their problems. We try to teach people to be organized about this stuff. You know how many older people have no idea what they have? They have an IRA from 50 years ago. What's in the IRA? Oh, I don't know. I haven't looked at it. That's for later. I go, well, it is later.
Yeah.
I mean, so I think that we help them, understand what their issues are and what their potential solutions are. And we put the family in a situation so if something bad happens, they're ready for it. And the alternative of that would be much, much worse. If someone becomes disabled, you don't have to go to court. You have a healthcare proxy and power of attorney.
How do you talk to somebody who's kind of uncomfortable talking about their money and what they have, that sort of thing? Do you ever come across that?
Yeah, I used to have clients who would say, well, if I tell you how much money I have, you'll charge me more. So we now have a fee sheet that we basically say, this is the baseline. I'm not going to show it to you yet, but it's over there. I'm going to show it to you before the end of the meeting. But there's still people who you never look at them and say, based on what they have on, what you think they're worth. I'm amazed at people who are multimillionaires that come in and look like they, went to a thrift shop.
Yeah, for sure. So if someone's listening to this episode and they don't have any estate planning, they haven't had it done, what's one thing that you wish they knew about it?
I would probably say that what I said earlier, these documents aren't just for when you pass. They can be beneficial for life events that you don't expect. He had a healthcare proxy that he had to invoke when he was in his 30s because of a car accident. That can happen to anybody. And, the concept of his wife at the time, being able to act immediately versus going to court, getting a guardianship in place and everything like that would have been immensely stressful, time-consuming, and all that. So it's kind of, you don't want to act like a know-it-all, but these documents save time, money, and stress in the long run.
Yeah, for sure.
The basic documents, I can say 95% of people should have the basic documents.
Yep.
A healthcare proxy, power of attorney, a will, and a HIPAA authorization are the 4 documents. It's not incredibly expensive, and it's not incredibly complicated, except for who you're picking. And we talk about the fiduciaries and say, if you pick the wrong person, my document isn't going to make a difference. You've got to pick the right people. So we push them hard on that. Excuse me. And the funny thing is, the hardest people to work with are people who don't have anybody in their life. They say, well, I want all this, Dale, but I don't have anybody. I'm 93 now. Everybody's dead.
Right.
It becomes difficult for single people, never married, never had kids. Some people just don't have people in their life, and it becomes a challenge.
That's interesting. Is there anything else that we didn't touch on today that you guys either of you would like to share, Dale or Lindsay?
I just think that one thing I think about is other lawyers.
Yep.
And I think that there's 2 things. I think the education of other lawyers to understand that, number one, they shouldn't be doing the estate planning, and that they have a little bit of knowledge so they can recognize when someone needs it. Someone's getting divorced, their entire estate plan should be changed, right? Sometimes a divorce lawyer will do a will for them and just say, you're all set. And they're not. It's so much more. So other lawyers need to be educated on it. And the second thing is younger people. Sometimes the driving force between getting my clients in are their kids. So Lindsay focuses on some younger people for their own estate plan. But sometimes what that results in is the kids getting their parents and say, they didn't know any of this stuff. I didn't know this now. And then the kids help get it done.
Okay.
So,
and I know you want to work with younger kids. So how are we doing that, Lindsay?
Yeah, so I have a few seminars that are coming up that are with other professionals, some panels that kind of deal with how do you age in place? How do you protect mom and dad? What documents may you need? How can financial planning and estate planning work together? And I think that's the other topic that I just want to hit upon is that, we're estate planners. We're not your everything, but we're your estate planning attorneys. So we want you to have a person for every slot. And, Dale does a really good job by, comparing it to a team. You want to have a team that you trust. You want to have a financial advisor, an estate attorney, like a mechanic, everything under the sun, that all are working together and communicating. And that really makes a difference.
Analogy is a football team. You're a great quarterback, but if your offensive line isn't very good, you're going to get killed. You need to have these other people. And there's a saying that I use all the time, know what you know, but more importantly, know what you don't know. And we have sometimes other professional people telling clients how to act on legal issues. And it's very aggravating to us because I'm not going to tell my client your mutual funds thinks you should be in a different mutual fund because that's not my job and that's not what I know. But when I have some other professional person tell them something different than I tell them, and it's a legal issue, what does the average person do? They throw their arms up and say, if I got 2 professional people telling me 2 completely different things, what am I supposed to do? So we strive to find people that we can work with and our clients can work with that can work as a team. Easier said than done.
That's interesting. Okay, it's like a big puzzle sort of that you gotta.
Yeah, it's just having the right people. There's so many different areas, professional areas that connect to what we do.
Yeah, that makes sense. So anything else on your end?
Stop by our seminars, and if you're, younger, don't be scared of estate planning. We give the free 1-hour consultation no matter your age. And, even if it helps you with your parents, maybe you'll learn something for yourself. So that would be really great.
Great. And Dale and Lindsay are in Belmont, Mass. That's a suburb of Boston. And we really appreciate you sitting down with us and doing this live. It's been awesome. We're going to go have some fun. And everybody tuning in, wherever you are in the world today, enjoy yourselves.
Thanks so
you.
much.
Thanks,
Thank you, guys.
Appreciate
it was
it.
fun.
It's a kamikaze. I don't know.
Oh my God.
Which is what?
I haven't had one.
Oh,
Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Great job. So much fun.
cheers.
Cheers, everybody.